It was late on a quiet Thursday evening. Daniel sat alone in his small office, papers scattered across the desk, his mind weighed down with deadlines. He rubbed his tired eyes and checked the time. Emily, his wife of 7 years, usually texted him around this hour, sometimes a sweet reminder about dinner, sometimes just a playful, "Don't stay too late." Those little messages had become his comfort. When his phone buzzed, Daniel smiled automatically, expecting warmth. But when he unlocked the screen, the words waiting for him felt like a dagger through his chest. "I'm done. Don't call me. Don't try to change my mind." Daniel's breath caught. His heart pounded so hard it hurt. He blinked, rereading, hoping he had misunderstood. But the message was real, brutal, final. In that single moment, the world he thought he knew, the marriage he trusted, the future he dreamed about, the love he had poured himself into, collapsed. His hands trembled, his chest felt hollow, and the silence of the office turned suffocating. That night, one cold message shattered not just his marriage, but the man himself. Daniel's hands shook as he gripped his car keys that night, his mind spinning in disbelief. This can't be real. She wouldn't just leave. Not Emily. Every red light on the drive home felt endless, every passing minute pulling him deeper into dread. When he finally opened the front door, the silence inside greeted him first. A silence that felt heavy, suffocating, unnatural. He called out her name, "Emily?" But his voice echoed back empty. He rushed to the bedroom, his heart hammering in his chest. And that's when the truth stared him in the face. Her side of the closet stood half empty, hangers swaying like ghosts in the dark. The drawers where she kept her favorite sweaters were yanked open, most of them missing. And her suitcase, the same one they'd taken on their honeymoon, was gone. Daniel's eyes landed on the bedside table. Their wedding photo still sat there, Emily smiling in her white dress, him standing proudly beside her. That framed memory now looked like a cruel reminder of promises already broken. He grabbed his phone and dialed her number. Once, twice, 10 times. Each attempt sank into the void of voicemail. No explanation, no goodbye. That night, Daniel sat on the edge of their bed, staring at the cold, untouched pillow where Emily once slept. The woman he loved had vanished, and all she left behind was an empty house and a message sharp enough to break his soul. The days that followed blended into nights, and the nights stretched endlessly into mornings that Daniel no longer wanted to face. The house, once alive with Emily's laughter and warmth, had become a hollow cage. Every room carried her ghost, the faint scent of her perfume on the couch, the echo of her voice in the kitchen, the pillow beside him still shaped by her absence. Friends reached out, their voices full of questions Daniel couldn't answer. What happened? Did you two fight? Or do you think she'll come back? He had no words, because he didn't know either. Emily hadn't called, hadn't texted, hadn't left so much as a note explaining why. She had vanished, leaving him with nothing but a storm of silence. Daniel tried to lose himself in work, but every email, every empty lunch break reminded him of the void she left. Food lost its taste. Sleep slipped away. Nights were the cruelest. When the world outside went quiet, his mind screamed with memories. Everywhere in town felt poisoned with reminders. The coffee shop where she'd hold his hand across the table. The park bench where he'd asked her to marry him. Even the grocery store aisle where she teased him for buying too many snacks. What once was love's landscape had now turned into a map of grief. And no matter how far he walked, every road circled back to her absence. It was nearly a month later when the silence finally cracked, not from Emily, but from whispers carried by others. Daniel had gone to meet an old friend for coffee, hoping to escape the loneliness for just an hour. But his friend's hesitant expression told him the conversation would bring no comfort. After a long pause, his friend sighed. "Daniel, I don't know if I should tell you this, but Emily's been seen with someone, a guy from her office. His name's Mark." The words sliced deeper than the message that ended it all. Suddenly everything made sense. Her abrupt departure, the cold finality of her text, the missing suitcase. She hadn't left because she was lost or unhappy. She had left because she already had someone else waiting. Daniel's chest burned with a pain that no words could describe. For weeks he had punished himself with questions. Was I not enough? Did I fail her somehow? But the truth was more brutal. While he was planning vacations, dreaming of their future, and saving for the life they promised each other, she had been planning her escape into another man's arms. The humiliation stung as much as the betrayal. His wife of 7 years had replaced him, and the world seemed to know it before he did. Anger began to creep in where sorrow once ruled. His tears dried, replaced by a simmering fury. She had chosen someone else, thinking the grass was greener. But Daniel knew one thing now. Her betrayal would no longer define him. For the first time since that text, he felt something other than grief. He felt resolve. In the weeks after learning the truth, Daniel felt something inside him shift. The pain hadn't disappeared. It still lingered like a scar he couldn't ignore, but he refused to let it destroy him anymore. If Emily had chosen to walk away, then he would choose to stand tall. At first, it was mechanical. Wake up, go to work, eat, sleep, repeat. But soon, he realized that life couldn't just be survival. It had to be rebuilt. He joined a gym, forcing his body through workouts that left his muscles aching, but his mind calmer. Each drop of sweat felt like anger leaving his veins. Each mile on the treadmill, a step further from the man she had broken. He reconnected with friends he had drifted from during his marriage, people who reminded him that he was more than just someone's husband. He started saying yes to things again. Dinners, weekend hikes, even simple coffee chats. Work, too, became a refuge. He poured himself into projects, not to escape, but to prove something. Not to Emily, but to himself. He wasn't worthless. He wasn't broken beyond repair. Slowly, Daniel began to rediscover the man he used to be. The laughter he thought he'd lost found its way back in small bursts. The hobbies he had abandoned, sketching, reading late into the night, returned like long-lost friends. The ache was still there, yes, but it no longer controlled him. It was simply part of him, a reminder of what he had endured and survived. Daniel was no longer waiting for Emily's call. He wasn't waiting for her return. He was building a new life, one stronger than before. Months had passed. Daniel's life was not perfect, but it was steady again. He had learned how to breathe without pain filling his lungs, how to smile without forcing it, how to live without waiting for someone who had chosen to leave. And then, one ordinary afternoon, his phone buzzed. When he glanced at the screen, his heart skipped. It was a name he hadn't seen in months. Emily. For a long moment, Daniel stared at it, his thumb hovering. Part of him wanted to delete the notification and pretend it never came. But curiosity, and something deeper, pushed him to open it. This time, the message wasn't short and cruel. It was long. Pages of words, spilling out regret, apologies, and confessions. She admitted the truth, that Mark, the man she left him for, had used her and discarded her, that she had realized too late what she'd thrown away. Her words trembled with desperation. "Daniel, I made the worst mistake of my life. You were the only one who truly loved me. I destroyed everything and I don't deserve another chance. But I'm begging for one. Please, can we meet?" Daniel sat there for a long while, reading and rereading. The irony was sharp. Months ago she had shattered him with one message, and now she was trying to return with another. He agreed to meet, not for her sake, but for closure. At a quiet coffee shop, Daniel arrived early. When Emily walked in, he barely recognized her. The confident woman he once knew was gone. She looked tired, older, her eyes swollen with sleepless nights and regret. The moment she saw him, tears filled her eyes. She rushed to sit down, her voice breaking as she pleaded. "Daniel, I'm so sorry. I ruined everything. Please, give me a chance to fix it. I'll do anything. Just don't shut the door on me." Her hands shook as she reached across the table, her words spilling in broken sobs. She admitted her shame, her mistakes, her loneliness. She begged him to let her come home, to let them rebuild what she had destroyed. For the first time in months, Daniel realized something. She was the one broken now, and he was the one strong. Daniel listened quietly as Emily poured out every regret, every excuse, every desperate attempt to rewrite the past. Her tears flowed freely, her words tumbling over one another like waves crashing on rocks. For months, he had imagined this moment. The day she would finally admit the pain she caused. When she finally fell silent, her eyes searching his for mercy, Daniel leaned back in his chair. His voice was calm, steady, nothing like the broken man she had left behind. "Emily," he said softly, "you destroyed us with a single text. Do you really believe another text, or even 1,000 words, can erase that?" Her lips trembled. She reached for his hand, but he pulled away. "Forgiveness," he continued, "doesn't mean reunion. I've found peace, but it doesn't include going back to you. Trust isn't something you can rebuild once you've burned it to ashes. You wanted something better, you gambled, and you lost. I won't be your safety net." Emily broke down, sobbing into her hands. The coffee shop filled with the sound of her regret. Daniel stood, pushing his chair back gently. For the first time since her message, he felt light. As he walked toward the door, he glanced back one last time. Emily sat there, shattered, the same way he once was. But now the roles had reversed. He left without anger, without bitterness, only peace. The man she broke no longer existed. In his place stood someone stronger. Betrayal is a wound that cuts deep, one that leaves scars no one else can see. Daniel's story is proof of how a single message can shatter a life, but also how strength can be rebuilt from the ruins. He didn't find closure by taking Emily back. He found it by choosing himself, by realizing that sometimes forgiveness doesn't mean reunion, it means release. The greatest justice wasn't in watching her beg, but in knowing he no longer needed her to feel whole. He walked away with peace, with strength, with freedom. And that is the lesson. Betrayal may break you, but it doesn't have to define you. You can heal. You can rise. You can reclaim your worth. Have you ever faced betrayal or heartbreak? Share your story in the comments. Your words might give strength to someone who feels alone right now.